Hi, welcome to Easy Agent Studio. In this tutorial, we're going to be setting up Microsoft SQL Server Express. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go over to a website and we're just going to do a search on 2022 Express Download SMSS. That's Microsoft SQL Server 2022 Express. We'll go over to the website and then we're going to go ahead and download it. And we're going to let you guys do this download directly. We've already downloaded and installed it on our laptop, so we're not going to do that again. But once you download it, make sure that you install the SSMS also, which is the IDE for SQL Server. It allows you to be able to interface with it, create tables and things. So once you download it, all we have to do then is it'll install it, and we're going to go ahead and load it up and see what we got. So we're going to load SQL Server Management Studio, and when it loads, it's going to load and register it onto our laptop. And again, this is just a test laptop that we're using. You can do it on a Windows server, you can do it on a business workstation, however you want to do that. But you can see that it's going to give the server name, and we're going to copy that server name onto Notepad because we're just going to use this for later on. So once you get this set up, we're always going to use Windows authentication. There's no need to set up a SQL ID and password. You can. If you're using a SQL Server on a business device, then your database team will probably set you up a user ID and password for it. But for this, we're doing it on a personal desktop, and so it just makes it easier to just use Windows authentication. So we're going to just copy that, and we're going to come over to Notepad, and I'm just going to go into Notepad, and I'm going to paste that over. So I'm just going to do paste. So that is our instance of SQL Server and where it resides on our desktop. So then I'm just going to do connect. And once we connect, it'll come up on the Object Explorer. It'll show the databases. So we're going to create a new database. So let's go out to let's go ahead and click databases, do new query, and we're going to build these databases based off of some information we have on the installed version of Easy Agent Studio. So we're going to go back over to our folder where we can find Easy Agent Studio. We're going to click into that. There it is right there. And we're going to come down and we're going to look at our list of viewers, email, reader, SQL table setup. So I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to open this with Notepad. Actually, it's going to open it directly onto our folder within the Visual SQL Server Express. And that's good. This is predefined. We set this up on June the 21st. So what we're basically doing is we're going to dynamically create some tables for our Gmail reader. It just makes it easier to do it this way. So here it just says, if you've never worked with SQL Server before, all this is saying is we're going to use Gmail Reader, which is a database that we want to create. So we're going to come up here and we're going to right mouse click on databases, and we're going to just create a new database called Gmail Reader. And we're just going to do it as the default. There's no need to get, fancy with this. So we're just going to type in just the way it is, Gmail Reader. And we're going to leave it as the default. I mean, again, we're keeping it really simple. We're just going to do add. And we're going to, it looks like I've got a log file and I've got a database. So that's fine. And then I'm just going to hit OK. And it says file name was empty. Please provide a file name for the file. So I'm going to come up here. Gmail Reader right there. I'm going to click OK. Let's try this again. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to create Gmail Reader. The owner is going to be default. Yeah, I'm okay with default. And then I want to do add. And, oh, there we go. I see what we're doing. See this one right here? We're going to remove that one. And we're going to remove that one. We've already got this built. But what will happen is that if you add one, it'll be Gmail Reader. And we're just going to leave it at the default. I was trying to add them and they were duplicated. That was my fault. So then I'm just going to hit OK. And now I've got the Gmail Reader database. So I'm just going to say right here, I'm just going to drop down and I'm going to follow each one of these. And you can see that we're creating a table and we're going to call it Gmail Access. Then we have another table called Gmail Setup. Then we have another table called Gmail Requests and another table called Gmail Schedule. And then we have the last table called Gmail Events. And those are all the tables that we're going to build for that. And we're just going to let it all run. So I'm just going to hit execute right there. It's all using Gmail Reader. So I'm just going to do execute, let it run, and we can see that we're complete. So now when I go into Gmail Reader, I can go down to tables and expand those. Give it a chance to expand, hopefully, as it's building it out. It said all the commands were complete. There we go. And there's our databases and our tables. So we're good on that. So we've set up our database for Gmail Reader. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. That's all you got to do, basically, for that. So now we're going to come over here and we're going to go back into Easy Agent Studio and we're going to hit the build button, but we're going to we're going to copy the Gmail Reader out of that folder onto our C drive. So we're just going to right mouse click and do copy, come down here, go to C drive and do paste. And we'll copy that whole project. And if I double click on that project, you can see that I've got the Gmail Reader executable, project file, BLD, and the header file, the HTML file, which is the executable itself. And we're going to talk through this as we go along. But we're going to go into Easy Agent Studio, and we're just going to open up that project. So we're going to come over here after we copy it to the C root. We're going to open it up, come over here, and we're going to go down to Gmail Reader, and we're going to open that up. And now you can see that it's already pre-built for you. We went ahead and did this prior to installing the project itself, so it gives you kind of a head start. So you can see that we have a start and a stop. We have a clear request, clear schedule, clear events. We have setup, access, and clean. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the main window. So we just click on main window right there to go into that window viewer. And we're going to come down and we're going to see the DBS or the database. So we're going to go into that. The main window holds all of your objects for the timer control, the database control, script control, file control, your cloud control, your Azure control, your Active Directory control, and your LLM control. So I'm going to go into that control, the DBA, DB1, and you can see that I've got this preset to machine, SQL Express. So we're going to get rid of the machine 1 and we're going to go back over to our notepad and we're going to look at that name. That's the actual computer name that we want to connect that database to. So we're going to copy that. We're going to come down here. And if you've got a server that you're using, even if you're using an Azure database or an AWS database on a SQL side, it doesn't have to be SQL. It could be Oracle. It could be MySQL. It could be SQLite, it can be any of them, but we're using SQL Express. Then you put your database, your IP address for your database in there. Then you put your database name in there, Gmail Reader, and that's the format. And you could see the reason why we have two places is that we have what we call failover. If you are in two call centers or data centers and you want to have a failover, what this will do is it'll try to connect to the root. It doesn't connect directly to the listener. It'll connect to the root one. You can use the listener. Well, a listener is basically a server that listens and then it dispatches out that connection to the database based on the listener, and it'll kind of do it'll send it to one data center and then it'll send it to another one and kind of round robin the user connection points. But for us, we're just going to put them both on the same one. We don't have a listener or anything like that for SQL, but that's if you're using more of a commercial product for that. And then we got SQL Express, which is the same thing here. And we've got the database name, which is Gmail Reader. And we're just going to test connection right there. So I'm going to just click that button, do test connection, and see if we get a connection on it. And you can see that there's a select going on. And you could see that we've got ourselves connected. And there's no items in that. So we're going to come up here and we're going to clear. If you connect your DBA as a test right here on the DBS itself on that particular control, if you use test connection, it'll test on everything. Like if you're doing a select statement, if you're doing a delete, an insert, whatever, it'll show you that information. That's how we can test it. So what we're going to do is, since we know we got a good connection, I'm going to go back in there and disable that. I don't need to test it again, so that we're going to run it through. So now we're going to just build the app, and now we've got the app built. Now we should be able to clear the requests, clear the schedule, and clear the events. And those three tables are part of the Gmail Reader. So we're going to clear that, clear the schedule, and clear the events. Okay? Now, let's talk about setup, access, and clean. Access will be the first thing that we need to do. And we're going to do this on the next tutorial where we connect to our Gmail Reader access. We're going to go over to Gmail's website, Google's website. We're going to create an API key, and we're going to put that information right there. Setup is that's where we're going to put the email address and the API key. And then access is where we're going to put the users. So you can use more than one person. Like say I've got an email and I may want my family member or my business partner or people within my business unit to be able to access this and work with the LLMs. You can add multiple users. You just put their user ID, their phone. We'll set this up as we go along. And then here you've got clean. And clean is basically an easy interface to when you send an email through, let's say, Google Mail and or let's say Outlook, for instance, let's say Microsoft's Mail. It'll come in and on the attachment of the email, it may put some data. Like here it says, get Outlook. And it's just a prefix. It may be a longer string, and we'll show you that as we go along in our next tutorial. And then here's one for Yahoo. These are just little inserts that the email systems insert into the recipient email. And we don't want that because we're parsing out that email to ask the LLM a question. So we're going to show you how to get rid of that piece. And through our tool, it'll automatically remove it. And then it'll just ask the question that you want to present to the LLM. kind of cleans it up. So that's what this does. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. You've got your database set up, and that's the only database tables you need for the Gmail process. The reader, the monitor. We have three. If you go back over to our folder within here, we have a Gmail reader, an event reader, and a Jarvis, which is a general purpose agent. But you can create your own. I mean, here we're gonna end up adding some more agents as we go along. And then we have a reminder agent. And what we basically did is we created a schedule where we can go into email and say, hey, reminder, can you, next Friday, can you send me an email and let me know that I got to go to the grocery store and buy a loaf of bread? And that's all you got to put in your email. And you voice that over and you hit send. Well, this system here will pick this up, put it in a database table for you, and it'll monitor it through the event handler. And every day it'll go through that and see if that day that event fires. And if that event fires, it'll shoot you back that email on that time frame. If you say, remind me at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, it's going to do that. It'll run it. And this will run 24/7. You can have it set up to have it run all day long or partial day, however you want to do it. Not a problem. And we're going to talk more about that as we go along. But that's it for this tutorial. In our next tutorial, we're going to get access to our Gmail, get the API key, and run through our first one and see what we get. That's it. And hope you have a great day. Thanks.